Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. So today we have brought out an interesting topic because many people have been asking about my interview experiences and which company have I sat for and how have I approached the interview, what went wrong in the interview most importantly. Now many people will tell you that what you should tell in an interview specifically, that you should tell this, you should talk about your experiences, you should talk about your internships, your trainings, maybe about a few subjects of your strength. You will be asked your strengths and weaknesses. Yes, they are important. They are common HR questions or common technical questions that are generally asked in an interview. I have already made a video on the common HR questions in an interview, but today, since we are together preparing for that interview, I am going to tell you the 5 things that you must avoid in an interview, that you must avoid doing or saying in an interview. So very important, watch this video till the end because I'm going to jot down those 5 points by my personal experience, by the interviews that I have attended till date. These are the 5 things that I have found that most people get rejected because they do these 5 things in an interview. These 5 things should be totally avoided when we go into an interview. So apart from this, the follow-up videos, it's going to be a small one. The 5 things are going to be just 5 points that you must remember before going into an interview, because this is the scenario that can happen with you as well, and you might fall into the same trap as the other candidates. So you must avoid doing these 5 things. Apart from this, the follow-on of this particular video is going to be in the consecutive weeks that's going to come up next, along with the technical topics in alternative weeks. We will try to bring out the individual experiences behind this particular 5 points. That is, I'm going to share an interview experience of myself in a particular company and what went wrong in that company and how and why I was rejected in that particular company. I'm starting this series with a set of interviews that I've sat for till date and why I have got rejected in them. Like, why have I got rejected in Suez India? Why have I got rejected in Honeywell UOP? I'm going to discuss about all of them individually so that you do not repeat the same mistakes. So come along with me and we will crack it together. So the first point that you must avoid doing in an interview is talking about a startup. Yes, that is the first point that I've jotted down. Do not talk about your startup. Even if you own a startup or you are professionally related to any source of revenue, do not talk about it. May it be the best thing that have happened to you, may it be a spark in your CV, because no one in your batch has ever been associated with a startup company of his own, or nobody possesses his own business abilities or business skills. No matter what, if you're sitting for a company interview, do not talk about your own startup structure or own startup, or even about your future plans regarding a startup, because many companies do ask this common question: where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? Never ever tell them that I see myself in my own company as the boss and instructing employees over a cup of coffee, telling them to do this, telling them to do that, and I plan this startup. They will be very interested, they will be very intrigued, they will ask you about your startup, and finally when they get to know about your startup plans and ideas, they are going to reject you, because nobody wants to hire a candidate who will leave after taking experience from that firm and will switch to his own startup venture that he wishes to open at any point of time in his life. Because everybody wants an employee, a faithful employee, and not an entrepreneur in an employee who is trying to just gather some experience and switch over to his own business. So never ever show your own business or any model that you are professionally associated with which earns a revenue. So do not show any source of income or any revenue from any professional business. First no in an interview. The second no in an interview is avoid talking in Hindi. Yes, many people do this mistake of getting into the lucrative offer of being linguistically independent, and when the interviewers do offer you to speak in Hindi, you often tend to commit the mistake of falling for that, and you tend to speak in Hindi because you are much more fluent or much more conversant in that. So never ever do that. Try and speak only in English, try to avoid speaking in Hindi, because that doesn't give a good impression. Because you have to crack in business client deals. You are expected to give presentations in a business organization. Whenever you join a business organization for a core or a non-core business in particular, you are not only required to show your technical skills, but along with the technical skills, there is something called communication abilities or communication skills that the HRs particularly look for. So if you fall for the trap and often speak in Hindi, then you might be rejected. Yes, there are some companies that only focus on your technical abilities. They do not focus on the fact that whether you know or even you can speak in a structured, proper English. With them, you can definitely have a go at it. Like Reliance accepted some candidates who gave their interview in Hindi, in fluent Hindi, but they explained the ideas, the technicalities properly, and they were selected. But many companies do not prefer that. They will offer you to be conversant, to be fluent and comfortable in your own language, but your own language should be English. So try and prepare in English. That is why I fetch my lectures in English, so that you can actually practice in English, think in English. Because if you can think in English, then you can deliver in the interview, in front of the interview panel. So the third mistake that often people do and you should avoid doing is preparation for GATE, CAT or higher studies. You should avoid telling the interviewer about this. You can prepare. There is no harm in preparing. In fact, I would suggest you to prepare for the same, because there is always a scope for growth and you shouldn't be stagnant at a particular place, because that again reaches a stage of saturation where you will feel bored about the thing. So you should always keep on growing. When you are in an organization, you are not supposed to speak about your preparation. Similarly, when you are sitting for it, never, ever, ever tell the interviewer that you are preparing for GATE, CAT or higher studies, that is MS somewhere outside or PhD somewhere outside. Never ever tell that, because they do not want employees that would leave them. I will again and again say, may you be that most technically strong person in the entire squad that you are sitting with. You are most technical among your peers and you are very confident that you are going to ace the interview. You have great communication skills, but one wrong thing in the interview can actually screw the things up for you, screw the opportunities up for you though. So if you want the job, do not avoid. Refrain from telling that you are preparing for the interview. What if they do not know? You know that you are preparing. Do not tell them that you are preparing for the interview. Now, the fourth thing that definitely would be my point would be over expression of knowledge and passion. Now, this is a very common point that I have found out with many of the candidates and has happened with me personally also in one of the interviews, which I am going to share in some consecutive videos after this. So over expression of knowledge, if you have very sound knowledge, very sound technical knowledge, and you express it, like design of a heat exchanger or design of a CSTR reactor, and you explain every bit of it with all the terminologies, just like a copybook, and it almost seems like you are so perfect at it, you have aced it so much that the interviewers are convinced that you are preparing for GATE or you're preparing for some technical examination, because of which you have sound knowledge, not only sound, but critical knowledge and detailed knowledge of each and every point in the design steps of a heat exchanger. So you have prepared the thing pretty well, and over preparation can actually screw up your chances in some of the interviews, where the interviewer feel like though you are technically sound and you are the right match for the profile, but you're not going to stay strong or stay long with the company, because they have a feel that you might just switch or might just leave for GATE or higher studies because you have a sound, very, very sound knowledge of that subject. So over expression of knowledge. And what is over expression of passion? You may be good at painting, you may be good at singing. I have seen many people do this in their interview, that when you talk about your passion, since you are so much involved in it, you tend to go with the flow, move with the flow, and you tend to express so much about your passion that the interviewers just feel that you are not diplomatic enough for this particular profile or for this particular job. They certainly know that you will somewhere down the line leave the company for your passion. So you see, all the points of rejection in an interview straight away is connected through the common point of leaving the company at a point of time. If in the interview you give a glimpse of the fact that you are going to leave the company and you are not going to stay or stick to the company, then definitely they are free to remove you from the interview, and they're correct in doing so. I won't hire somebody who is leaving me. I will hire rather somebody with a lesser technical knowledge, but someone who can learn over time and stay with us only. So expression of too much of an expression of your knowledge or hobbies, trying to pursue a passion, a profession out of your passion, can be a negative on your behalf in front of the interviewers, because they might just feel that you might leave for your passion. And last but not the least, the fifth point, that is your core or non-core interest. If you are sitting for a core, never ever ever express too much about your core technical knowledge or core skills. If you're sitting for a non-core particular company, then you are supposed to have a very sound and good technical knowledge in core as well. But then you shouldn't show too much interest towards core, or too much enthusiasm about core can screw up your chances in a non-core company. Similarly, for core company, if you're sitting for core company and you show up too much of a coding, too much of business analytics skills, where you are interested much more in marketing or business analytics or software development rather than chemical engineering, you might just screw up your chances, because you are supposed to deliver what they have come for. They have not come to hire software engineers, they have come to hire chemical engineers, they have come to hire process engineers, they have come to hire operations people. So do not screw up your chances by talking little bit more about non-core topics if you're sitting for a core interview, and vice versa. If you are sitting for a non-core interview, do not talk about core too much. You must possess a sound knowledge, having said that, but there is a thin line of gap between having a deep interest in something and having a sound knowledge of something, and a bit of interest in that as well as the one you're opting for. So they should be convinced that you are there for them and till you retire. So that's it. Those are the 5 things. I'm going to have follow-up videos on this, how I got rejected in several companies. I got rejected in quite a bit of them, so you are going to have a lot of experience of what not to do in a particular interview. I think this was helpful. If it was, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel. That's it for today. Thank you very much.